The Fed cut today as expected, but it's also pretty clear that the fate of any additional cuts rests again on the shoulders of inflation. That's not to say that inflation was being totally ignored by the Fed, but the 100 basis points of cuts we've already seen this year, it was entirely about labor. Powell still noted there are some challenges on the labor front, hiring and quit rates that are lower, demand that has slowed, all ideas that we think are totally fair. But with the improvement in inflation seemingly stalled over recent months, and likely as a result of that, the Fed lifting their inflation forecast for 2025 by even more than we thought they would. So core went from 2.2 to 2.5%. They reduced the number of cuts they expect next year from 4 to 2. So the median forecast now sits at 3.9%. Now, was this adjustment to inflation, the Fed building in any potential impact from tariffs in the coming year? Powell was actually asked this, and he said that it would be hard to show that impact now, since we simply don't have any details on what they'll look like. And we completely agree with that idea. But if this was just about inflation fundamentals as they exist today, which is to say, slowing that is still in the pipeline on the shelter front and wage pressures that are set to continue slowing, consistent with the slowing in things like hiring and quit rates that I mentioned a moment ago, you could easily make the argument that inflation would come in a bit lower than the 2.5% that they're forecasting by the end of next year. So we'll take them at the word that tariffs did not enter into the equation. So what happens from here? Well, we're going to skip at the January meeting, but it seems pretty clear that unless labor renews the degree of deterioration that we witnessed that kicked off the start of the easing cycle back in September, it's all about inflation from here, and that will dictate their reaction function.